Hi guys, and welcome back here at 1000 PS. As you can see, today it's all about the ZX-6R from Kawasaki. She's known to be this great super sport bike, dream bike, and we're gonna find out for you guys how she or it performs, not only on the racetrack, but also on the day-to-day street. So if you wanna find out, you better stay tuned. The Kawasaki ZX-6R. I have to say right off the bat, a great bike, one of my favorites today and during the week. I had a lot of fun, and I feel like it comes down to the aspects of feeling safe, great power, like it's not too much to handle, but it's enough to have a blast. And I felt like handling was easy, the weight's perfect, it's not too heavy, it's not like rocky or bumpy or anything or wobbly. And I had a lot of fun. I felt like the mirrors and everything was like adjusted very, very well. The display, you could easily tell what's where and how to use the buttons, and it was easily accessible, I felt like. I also feel like with the seating position of the bike, it is quite sporty, I have to say. I think it's one of the most sporty seat positions that we have amongst our bikes this week. I think depending on the length of a tour, like after a few hours, it can get a bit exhausting because the angle of the knees is very tight. But other than that, I feel like it contributes to the fun aspect of the bike. It's a lot of fun. It kind of encourages you to drive faster or like a bit sportier and really get to know the bike fully. So that might also be a very positive aspect.
The Ninja ZX-6R has always been known among supersport bikes as the one that has a bit more torquey, a bit more grunt down low. This is still true in 2024, and I can confirm that. In my opinion, the Ninja has a rather short gearing. Not extremely short, but short nonetheless. This means that even in second gear, when exiting corners, you have enough torque and grunt to fully use the gear. The display is a bit more Spartan than I would prefer in this class of bikes, and at this price point. The quick shifter works really well, but there's no blipper, which is a shame. The quick shifter requires very little input to activate, which is nice. You don't have to give it a hard push to make something happen. We had an Akrapovic exhaust fitted, and logically it provided an awesome sound experience. The seating position on supersport bikes is always a bit of a topic. With the Ninja ZX-6R, I felt very comfortable. It's not an overly radical position. It's quite reasonable for a supersport bike, though maybe a bit too relaxed for the racetrack. On the track, I would probably set the handlebars a bit lower. Otherwise, the suspension wasn't too soft. It was set up quite firm, which meant I received slightly less feedback. On the road, this is certainly pleasant, but on the racetrack, I would definitely need to adjust the suspension accordingly.
The Kawasaki ZX-6R. This is a bike that has been on the market for quite a long time. Kawasaki essentially created this bike from the typical 600cc class. Back in the day, all the bikes in this category were equipped with 600cc engines. Kawasaki was one of the first to take a different route by increasing the displacement early on to 636 cubic centimeters in order to generate a slight advantage, particularly at low RPMs, by providing a bit more torque. The 600cc category is known for its four-cylinder engine layout, a purely four-cylinder engine that isn't particularly geared toward delivering a lot of torque and power at low revs. These engines need a lot of RPMs to truly offer good performance, and you can feel that in this engine as well. While it does have a slight displacement advantage with its 36 cubic centimeter extra compared to other 600 cubic centimeter engines, which gives it a bit more torque at low revs. It's still true that this engine requires quite high revs to properly deliver power to the chain. The bike handles incredibly sporty overall. Kawasaki has truly lived up to its name with the ZX-6R Ninja, as it clearly demonstrates an extremely sporty foundation in its design. Kawasaki has once again succeeded in giving the ZX-6R the same extremely super sport-like handling as in previous generations. It all starts with extreme stability. This bike offers massive stability, which is essential for track use. To better judge the limits, I need to know exactly what is happening with the front tire, and that's only possible if I have a truly stable front end and not an overly agile setup that wiggles through the corners. That's why Kawasaki has largely stuck to the familiar concept, delivering very stable handling. On the other hand, when riding it on the road, especially at speeds over 100 km per hour, it lacks a bit of agility. For a 600cc bike in its class, it feels a bit stubborn and heavy due to its weight, and it requires quite a bit of steering input. You really have to put in a lot of steering input to move the bike from one side to the other, especially at higher speeds. However, it makes up for this with a lot of feedback. One negative aspect worth mentioning is the seating position. On the Kawasaki, it is quite extreme. First, you're positioned very close to the handlebars. The distance between the seat and the steering axis is extremely short. This means that even shorter riders will sit very close to the steering pivot point. Additionally, with the sharply angled clip-on handlebars, there is very little space between the handlebars and your knees, as the knee position is also extremely high. The foot pegs are set very high and the seat height is set quite low. This means that we also have a very bent leg position here. Combined with the very short distance to the handlebars, it results in a seating position that is very similar to that of a pocket bike, which is even too aggressive for track use. It requires a lot of physical effort to handle this bike properly over several laps or longer distances. You can imagine there's hardly any freedom of movement because you're already sitting so cramped. The bike itself isn't particularly small. In terms of overall dimensions, it's what you'd expect from a 600cc bike. Current models are, of course, built to be compact, but compared to other 600cc bikes, you can feel that the seating position here has been made too extreme. This is also one of the reasons why the bike's handling often feels sluggish, because you're unable to properly reach and handle the handlebars from behind, but instead are forced to lean forward excessively. You exert a lot of force on the handlebars, you grip them from above rather than from behind, and you have to maneuver the bike this way. This requires much more effort from the rider than if you could comfortably grip the handlebars from behind and reach forward. I think this is actually one of the biggest criticisms of this bike, especially for taller riders over 1.80 meters, who will find it very difficult to get a good feel for the bike. Even though the bike itself has many positive aspects, in the 600cc class it offers a bit more thanks to its slight displacement advantage at lower revs, although you still need at least 8,000 RPM to get decent acceleration. The suspension works really well. We have a fully adjustable suspension here, which is tuned very sportily, but still usable on public roads and not overly stiff. The brakes are really well executed. The ABS functionality could be a bit sharper, or in other words, slightly more aggressive. What I mean by this is that it could allow for more braking force, but still, overall, it's really good. That the gear shifting also works well, and with the quick shifter, we have a solid feature here. It's worth noting though that Kawasaki is one of the few manufacturers that hasn't yet implemented a ride-by-wire system on this bike, which is a bit of a downside. Because of that, there's no possibility of having a blipper function, and it can't be retrofitted, even at an extra cost. To have a blipper, the bike needs a fully automated throttle system, meaning the ECU must be able to give throttle input independently of the rider. And of course, that's only possible if a ride-by-wire system is already installed in the bike. That's something that's missing a bit on the Kawasaki, but overall I must say that the Kawasaki is really well designed for sport-minded riders. It has all the attributes we need. A high revving engine that delivers great power at the top, a good transmission and excellent handling, especially when pushing the bike to its limits. We also have traction control, although it doesn't offer many settings, but at least there's a basic regulation system that works well for everyday use. The ABS could work a bit better if you wanted to push it to the limit, but it doesn't pose any major issues. In combination with the very sporty tires we have mounted here, the Bridgestone S23, it creates a well-rounded package, providing a lot of grip and offering very good neutral steering behavior. It fits well with the bike and harmonizes nicely. So you could say it's a really well-executed super sport bike with some drawbacks in the seating position, which can be slightly adjusted, and naturally this results in some compromises in terms of street usability and everyday practicality.
That's all we've got for you today, guys, about the ZX-6R. Please share your own opinion down in the comment section. Let us know what you think. Would you consider buying a bike like the ZX-6R, or is it not your personal taste, and why? Leave a subscribe, comment down below, leave a like, and I'll see you soon.